So my chapter is on ethical issues in university counseling centers. And it covers about 4 basic areas. It covers privacy and confidentiality. So when you think of privacy and confidentiality, think educational versus the mental health or medical. Then it covers conflict between ethical standards and university policies. In this one, what you want to ask yourself the question is, which takes precedent, the university policy or the ethical standard? The 4th area is multiple relationships, and because you're on a university, there's going to be ample opportunity for roles to cross because students and faculty interact just so much more than what a private setting might be. So you want to look at multiple relationships and how clinicians or psychologists often serve in multiple roles, and then what are the ethical ramifications of that. Then the 4th area it covers is competence and how you're going to integrate religion and spirituality. So this is wanting to look at the question of, can you effectively integrate the student or the client's religious or spiritual views into the counseling setting? Are you competent to do that, or do you need to refer? And those are kind of the questions and areas that we'll look at a little bit closer. One of the first things you have to understand is FERPA, which is the Federal Education Rights and Privacy Act. This contains the federal laws about release and access to students' educational records, anything recorded. So if it's print, notes that you took during a meeting, audio, video, anything that is recorded that is about their education, the student has access to. So this law provides that any institution receiving funding from the Department of Education have to give access to those educational records to the students. In most cases, the university needs consent from the student to disclose, with 2 exceptions noted in the chapter. 1, faculty members can share with another when legitimate educational interest is demonstrated. The other thing is, if there is a threat to the health or safety of students or other individuals, the institution can disclose information to the police, to parents, to whoever is necessary to protect the health and safety of students or others. What can't be shared is mental health or medical records, unless they fall under the standard of ethical legal exception, like imminent threat to harm to self or others. It does not apply to observations or oral communications made by the psychologist or the clinical staff. You can share these with law enforcement, parents, or others as needed. One of the main reasons for this is the media coverage surrounding university and school shootings over the last 20 years or so. What they did was, in I think it was 2000 or 2004, they undertook a Safe School Initiative, which was a study to determine, could we have known, could we have done something to prevent these school shootings? The answer to both of those questions is basically no. There's almost no evidence indicating prior to the events, the school shootings, going back to school shootings all the way back to 1974 through 2000, that this was going to happen. There was some association with mental illness and violence, but almost all of the attackers had no mental health evaluation or diagnosis prior to the attack, or substance abuse noted. And what the studies have found is that the mental health community basically cannot predict with any accuracy who is going to shoot, or who is going to attack, or who is going to commit violence at a school. So the question you want to ask yourself is, what's the plan? That is pretty much the question my son asks every time he gets in the car with me, is, Dad, what's the plan for today? What are we going to do? And usually I say, I'm not your mother, I don't have a plan, we'll figure it out when we get there. That's not a good approach for how you're going to help your students. In actuality, the best thing to do is to develop a plan and really to institute care. a culture of care. So make sure you have a process in place that will help students with their mental health issues, if there's a culture where they know that they can talk to someone, that they can have a voice to get their frustrations out, and then have a plan in place or a team that's able to intervene if there's something that can be flagged, like a student's behavior that looks violent or outburst, and then you have a plan in place to intervene to help that student. Now, then the other thing that you want to look for is not a type of person. Those profiles are almost useless because you just can't predict what type of person is going to do this. Instead, have a policy or a plan in place that helps identify patterns of behavior. In almost every case of a school shooting or act of violence, there was a pattern of behavior that suggested preparations were made. There was never this person who just snapped one day and decided to go shoot up the school because they were crazy. Just that didn't happen. In almost every case, they found after the fact that there had been a long-standing preparations taken place. It was well thought out. There were steps in place. There was indications that they were making effort to undertake some kind of act of violence. And so being able to identify those patterns are actually the best way to go about helping someone and helping a university have something in place. Now, the next part is informed consent. This is very important. I'm going to say the most important thing up front, and then I will conclude with the second most important thing. So the most important thing to know about informed consent is document, document, document. Informed consent is to be an ongoing process that must begin prior to treatment. It is not retroactive, and it fully informs the client of services provided in language that is accessible to the client. So they have clarity of a treatment plan. They can know if there's any changes to the plan, and if you do change the plan, you're going to need more informed consent, which is why it's an ongoing discussion. And then they're told of potential risks and benefits. And it needs to be documented, either written or audio or visual, but written is best. At my work, we do informed consent every time we do a sleep study. In order to do the sleep study, we have to have them sign consent because everything is also video recorded. If they leave early, they have to consent to leave against medical advice. A lot of times they will not sign that form, which is why we record everything. So we at least have that backup. In the university context, a trainee may be tasked with providing some services. In that case, the trainee must state that they are a trainee and discuss their status with client. And they have to provide access to the supervisor in case the client decides, I'm not comfortable working with a trainee. And in that case, you have to begin the informed consent process again when they go see the supervisor. So what you want to do, and so the first and most important thing to remember is that you document, document, document. The second most important thing is that you document, document, document. The more you document, the better off you are. Now, in a university setting, one of the issues that you're going to run into quite a bit is multiple relationships, simply because you're crossing paths so often in so many different ways, like in ways that you wouldn't in a public setting or in a private setting, where if you go to a counselor, there's a good chance you won't see that counselor unless it's at the counseling session. Well, on a university campus, they interact in a lot of ways. There's a lot of overlapping roles between students, teachers at school functions, there's activities, there's lots of overlap that can happen. So what you have to understand is the definition of a multiple relationship will serve as a good rule of thumb for walking those lines. A multiple relationship is something that occurs when a professional relationship with a person and in another role with the same person, or if you have a professional role with someone who's closely associated with the client. And then the third thing is if you have made a promise to be in a future relationship. And then you want to take those three factors of, are you in a professional relationship and then in one outside of the professional relationship, or with someone they know or closely associated with, or have you made a promise? And if you in one of those three things, then you want to follow it up and combine it with the second part is, will this outside relationship impair or affect your ability to be objective, competent, or effective? And does it risk exploiting or harming the patient, the non-professional secondary relationship? How you answer those questions will determine whether or not you need to refer them to another counselor or terminate some aspect of those relationships and come up with a different solution for being in a counseling relationship with that client. This portion of the chapter, the authors spend quite a bit of time building an empirical case for considering the role of religion and spirituality in counseling. In today's university context, if a person came to counseling and they had an issue that asked them, where they asked the counselor, I would like to have Christian counseling. I'm a Christian. I would like my faith to be considered. One of the problems in the secular counseling area is that most of their training and competence revolves around sexual orientation, gender, or ethnicity, or socioeconomic class, and there's actually little training in religion or spirituality. So the underlying drive in secular counseling is to sort out the client's issues as primarily social constructions. So even when they do consider religion and spirituality, it's going to be subjected to the understanding of the social construction of the client's religious and spiritual views. Whereas the Christian response, and this is the chicken or the egg, is it spiritual or is it social cultural? The Christian response is going to see religion and spirituality as the primary issue driving the problems associated with orientation or gender or race or ethnicity or poverty. The authors at this point make a case that religion and spirituality should be taken into more consideration as a part of a person's cultural diversity, especially in the U.S., where 96% of people in surveys say that they believe in God, 90% say that they pray, 87% say religion is important, 82% want spiritual growth, 71% are interested in a relationship with God, 80% value prayer in crisis, 64% read the Bible in times of crisis, and 100 million people claim to be involved in faith-based small groups. They cite these studies showing that positive expressions of religious promote individual health outcomes. So like your heart beats better when you're involved in a positive religious activity. So the issue of competence becomes very important in a university setting where typically young people are coming together at an impressionable time, beginning to do the work of fleshing out their identity, sorting through who they are and who they want to be, and how all the cultural influences in their life are shaping and being shaped by them. Competence in the counselor then must operate with awareness, respect, and consideration for the cultural and individual differences of the client. They have to work with the boundaries of their training and either learn or refer the client to someone who is more competent in the area that they're looking at. So if you have a secular counselor who's not competent in religion and spirituality, they may need to refer someone to a client to someone who is. And then the counselor is expected to keep an open mind and be willing to explore religious and spiritual concerns. The authors present both an ethical and an empirical mandate then for counselors to obtain competency in religious and spiritual training. And so the question that posed itself to me was, in theory then, who's more prepared to be a competent counselor? The secular counselor who sought training for understanding of religious and spiritual issues, or the Christian counselor who has sought training of secular approaches to social problems and has a religious and spiritual worldview that guides who they are? Just a question that came to my mind, and I would think that I think that Christians are actually quite possibly more suited to counsel non-Christians than non-Christians are to counsel Christians. Now, this is my final kind of question that was posed, and I'm going to kind of borrow from the book a little bit about an ethical situation. So who do you serve? You have the institution and you have the individual. So let's say you're a counselor at Christian University, and a student comes to you confessing they're struggling with their sexual orientation. They're unsure of the faith which they've learned from their local church, and they have violated the honor code of their university. What do you do? Where do your chief moral obligations lie? To the university, who upholds a particular standard of behavior, or to the individual who's come to you for counseling? Is your goal to help the person become the kind of person the university believes they should become, or help them develop greater awareness of who they are, what their goals are, who they will become? How will you evaluate your competency levels in counseling with them? Do you need to learn? Should you refer? Do you alert the university administration to protect the university's reputation before something the client may have done comes to public light? That's assuming it wasn't one of the reasons you have to legally report, but just something inconsistent with the professional behaviors of the university. What are your ethical obligations? Who are they to? What is the hierarchy of the ethics? Is it the individual? Is it to the institution? These issues can get pretty tricky, and so it takes a lot of thought before you just come up with an answer. And I'll leave you with that. And I'm not sure I want to be a counselor in a university setting after reading through this.